In-depth reporting tonight. When you go to buy a home, signing the papers, it can be an overwhelming experience just by the sheer fact of how many times your signature is in fact required. And through that process, you read and you trust the person helping you to guide the way. NonStop Local KHQ's Morgan Ashley is looking into an alleged mortgage fraud scheme that's left people either without their homes or at best fighting for their rights through the court system. Good evening.
Hey there, Sean. Yeah, Jeremy Alvis of Cheney, he's a general contractor here in town, remodeled his home of 20 years with his own hands. A few years back, he says an effort to refinance turned into a nightmare. And now the Washington State Department of Financial Institutions is investigating, but this is not the first time.
They did attempt to foreclose on me in ways that did not follow the law.
Jeremy Alvis says what was one of the most important financial moves he ever made turned into him being swindled by the people he thought he could trust.
With doing refinances in the past, I know that the bankers have a fiduciary duty to their customers. And so I rely on that, right?
Alvis says a man by the name of Bob Calhoun at Pacific Mortgage Center told him he could get him into a custom loan. After a few of Alvis's clients backed out of their projects during COVID, he says he decided to take some time off and focus on finishing the remodel of his home. He knew his debt-to-income ratio would be skewed, and he had a cannabis growing license attached to the property that Alvis says he was not actively using. He knew at that point he didn't qualify for a conventional loan. Alvis says Calhoun told him they could build a loan for him, and after building a relationship over time, they would roll him into a conventional loan.
Then when it came time to roll into the in-house mortgage, then that's when things kind of went sideways.
Alvis says suddenly his phone calls and emails weren't being returned and communication overall seemed to disappear.
So that I realized there was a lot of terminology in there that I didn't even know that was there. I wasn't given the paperwork and contracts prior to signing, right? I went in there and just signed away like I always do.
Alvis ended up taking his loan paperwork to another lender and discovered what he alleges is a fraud scheme by PMC with the goal of trying to take possession of his home through foreclosure. According to court documents filed alongside two other alleged victims, Alvis accuses Pacific Mortgage Center and its hard lending company, Private Money Capital, of violating the Consumer Loan Act in multiple ways.
They use the same logo and letterhead, but a different business, Private Money Capital, which apparently is not even licensed in the state of Washington to do business.
He told me it wasn't until his attorney recommended he pull his credit report, he discovered none of his 18 mortgage payments were posted. The result, his credit was in bad shape.
And there was a lot of things in there that I would not have signed had I had that paperwork prior and had I taken a lot of time to look through them. And
through the lawsuit, Alvis alleges PMC of predatory and unlawful practices. One of those allegations being PMC did not properly inform Alvis that he was signing a commercial loan instead of a residential one.
I had a hunch when they said, well, we're not going to put you into a conventional mortgage, but we'll extend this loan if you pay us $30,000. So then I consulted some counsel and consulted some other people in the lending business, and they were the ones that tell me that this loan was fraudulent and not good.
I did reach out to those Alvis is accusing through this lawsuit. The attorney for Alan Hurd, owner of Pacific Mortgage Center, says in part, quote, "At the heart of this lawsuit is the fact that these were loans plaintiffs pursued for business purposes." He goes on to say instead, this lawsuit appears to be an attempt by plaintiffs to avoid their responsibility to repay money they borrowed, end quote. Stephen Schneider, who sent a notice of default to Alvis, told me in part, quote, "As soon as there was a dispute, I withdrew as trustee so the parties could proceed without a pending sale," end quote. Stephen Ford is accused of drafting these loans and acting as the closing agent on transactions. actions. His attorney pointed me back to the court case files and accuses the plaintiffs of trying to try their case in the media, going as far as to ask us to reconsider or withhold this story until the judge makes a decision. I did not hear back from the man who directly helped Alvis with his loan. That's Bob Calhoun. Alvis told me he considers himself one of the lucky ones since he was able to intercept foreclosure before it was too late.
I've been here for 20 years. This is my home, and I've built it with my bare hands.
So I have confirmed with the Washington State Department of Financial Institutions they're actively investigating PMC owned by Alan Hurd. In fact, this is not the first investigation. There are in fact 2 consent orders in the last 10 years or so where Hurd has been ordered to pay fines and was able to keep his license for other deceptive and unlicensed practices. I asked their office why Hurd was able to be licensed with these allegations and the prior investigations. They told me DFI considers things on a case-by-case basis, looking at the facts, applicable laws, and considers relevant factors. They go on to say in part, quote, in the prior DFI cases, the company complied with all corrective actions required by DFI. The previous cases with DFI do not appear to be related to the same allegations raised by the current complaint DFI is investigating. From here, this case is scheduled to go to trial next summer. In studio, I'm Morgan Ashley. Sean.